Hello, I'm Christine. Welcome to Book Talk. Today we're discussing Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. It was so good. You guys, it was so good. Remember how I've been wanting to read this for like 50 years? And I finally did because it's this month's book of the month for Booksplosion, so I had to read it. And I'm so excited because it was fantastic. It was freaking fantastic. It was so good. So good. Do you see it? Do you see it? I'm Marsh. When he was impersonating an obligator. For those of you who haven't read it yet, you'll know who Marsh is, so don't worry about it. Push that aside. So if you have no idea what Mistborn is about, it's a huge heist book. It's a heist book set in a fantasy realm. When I say fantasy, it feels like it could be really far into the future. You know, because like the sun is red, and you know how stars go white and blue and then they turn yellow, and that's where our sun's at, and then billions of years later it expands and it becomes like a red giant. There's this magic system called allomancy, and the magic works like you ingest different metals and each metal gives you a different ability. I love it. I'm so excited to read the next one. Like, I want to read the next one now. I don't think I'm gonna be able to stop in between and not read the next one. It's told in third person, so we can switch point of view sometimes, but most of the time we're following Vin, who's a 16-year-old girl, and Kelsier, who is a 35-year-old blend of Johnny Depp and Robert Downey Jr. and Orlando Bloom. Like, smushed into one, that's how I picture them, but his personality is like Jack Sparrow meets Iron Man. He's freaking awesome. He's the crew leader of the heist. If you don't know what a heist is, it's like, have you seen The Italian Job? Have you seen Ocean's 11? Have you seen anything with a heist? I can't think of anything else right now because I just rewatched those two movies. Just know that you should read it. You're gonna enjoy it. It's a long book. It's like 600 and a million pages. But it flies by. Before I knew it, I was on page like 400. And then I was on page 600. And then I was done. And then there's 2 other books in the series. Do you see them? Well of Ascension and The Hero of Ages. Which now, after reading this first book, I'm like, oh. Actually, like halfway through the book, I remembered what the other 2 books are called, and I was like, whoa, spoilers kind of. Even the cover of the third one, like, that looks like a spoiler to me. Excuse me. Anyway, I give Mistborn like a 97%. It was freaking awesome. It was exciting and fun, and the characters were fantastic, and the plot was like, whoa. It's just, if you haven't read it, should read it and then come back and discuss it, because I'm about to go into a huge spoilery section where we discuss everything. Bye non-spoilery people. You gotta go. Okay? I'll see you back here when you finish the book. Okay, I think the obligators wear gray robes. I have a gray sweater, so. Nailed it. I don't even know where to start here. Did you see Kelsier? First I saw him as Johnny Depp. Like, Johnny Depp, Jack Sparrow. I love Kelsier. I loved him so much. Like, I was Vin. Whenever he comes into the room, it's like, Kelsier! Hug, love you. And the whole book, I was nervous because Kelsier's our Dumbledore. He's our orphaned child's hero figure. I knew Kelsier wasn't gonna make it through the book. That first raid of the castle was so intense and so scary. The Inquisitors, what the F? What exactly is the process of making them dominant? They're like silent brothers, except scarier, because silent brothers mostly chill silently, and Inquisitors mostly, like, kill you. So back to the first raid. That was horrifying. I thought Kelsier wasn't gonna make it out of it. I thought that was the moment. That was our Dumbledore falling off the astronomy tower. We're gonna have to carry on and be the crew leader without him, and I was so sad. But then he was back. And that constantly would happen. Kelsier's doomed, but no, he's not. He's back. And then we have the final battle with Kelsier. That was crazy. We're like, no, he's gonna get through this because he kills the Inquisitor, chops off his head, and it's like, yeah. Oh. But at the same time, I know in my mind that he's been asking these questions about religion. He's been visiting the ska. Like, he's the ska's Jesus. When the Lord Ruler came out of his carriage and just slapped Kelsier and killed him. No. I didn't cry or anything because it was too intense. The death of Marsh. That was sad. Marsh is so brave. Like, Harry says that Snape is the bravest man that he ever knew, but he didn't know Marsh. When they walked into that room to meet him, Kelsier was blocking Vin's way, and he gasped. I thought that there was an Inquisitor standing there. Because I thought that he had been promoted and steel had been pushed through his eyes and he'd become an Inquisitor. And he had, but you tricked us. Did any of you think he wasn't dead? That is what sparked Kelsier to be the crazy martyr that he was, like, the next day, right? Not the next day, like 3 days later. After he destroyed the pits of Hathasan, that was nice. That was a fun little trip. Destroyed all the atrium. This, I think, is gonna be an issue, though. When the Lord Ruler died, and he was like, "You've doomed yourself," and we didn't find any atrium. I'm just thinking, like, does the darkness eat atrium? Was that how we were subduing him? Like, is he a big blob under the earth that needs to eat atrium, and we were feeding him the atrium, and that's why everyone was surviving and the end of the world hadn't come? I can't believe this cover. Like, what the is this? This looks like the darkness, the deepness. Was it called the deepness? The deepness, not the darkness. I mean, it's possible that this isn't what it is. It isn't what it looks like. I still don't like it. But my working theory right now is that the deepness needs atrium. That's why we've been doing that. That's why we couldn't find the atrium. That's why we're doomed. Look how nice my notes are. Can you see? Can you? I'm so proud. We have Breeze, the Soother. Breeze is one of my favorites with his suits and his witty banter. The characters in this book were so strong. They were all so defined and different and developed, and I just... Then we had Ham, who was also really nice. Like, they were all really nice people. They were all really supportive of Vin when she joined the group, and I loved that. They became the surrogate family for Vin. Poor Vin. The Lord Ruler's journal entries that were at the front of each chapter. As we read them more and more, I began to think more and more that he wasn't the hero of ages. They got the prophecy wrong, and it was actually supposed to be Vin or Kelsier. And I never stopped to think that maybe the Lord Ruler wasn't the man who wrote that journal. Like, I never entered my mind. Poor Vin and her situation with her brother Reen. Everything that Reen taught her, I mean, helped her survive to where she is today, but it puts her on the track to this lonely, barren, loveless life. The whole book, we're kind of sad about Reen. And in the end, we find out that Reen did care about her. The fact that he died being tortured and lying that Vin had died and starved to death really touched me. Let's talk about Yedin for a second. This idiot ruined everything. Yedin set off this chain reaction of stupid shit that happened. I knew he was bad. I was like, why would you put Yedin in charge? He's not part of your crew. I know he's gonna have the army later, but like, right now it's our job and not his job. Like, he just hired us. When we found out that the army had attacked, Vin was with Ham and they were visiting the garrison, and the garrison was like, yeah, Rebel just attacked outside, blah, blah, blah. And Ham was like, what? And I was like, what? It's so precariously planned for months and months and months and months, and just, you think that you can just ruin the plans? Just messed up everything. I was so mad. Clubs' nephew, who has this European accent that for the life of me, I can't understand what he's saying. Wuzzing, mountain, wuzzing, wuzzing, wuzzing. Wuzzing's not a word, bro. So stop using it. I hear you listening to everyone every day, all the time. I know you could say was if you wanted to. I really didn't trust him. I thought he was a plant or a spy the whole time. I love the whole handkerchief ordeal. The first ball, I loved Elend right off the bat. Like, you're in my favorite reading spot? You have a favorite reading spot? Marry me. He's a little naive at times, like when the assassins came to kill him, and he was like, oh yeah, there's some spies up there, but no worries, I escaped before they could learn what I was talking about. We knew the whole time that Vin wasn't a regular Mistborn. I'm pretty sure Vin is like descendant of the Lord Ruler, or she's descendant of a terraceman and a noblewoman. I don't know. She has both noble and terraceman blood. She could probably store stuff just like the Lord Ruler can. Fuchamenchi, you know what I'm saying. Furukumi. It's a hard word to say. I've already talked about Marsh and how much I love him. I'm so happy he's alive. So happy. When I read that there was an Inquisitor that came in and stabbed the other Inquisitor, I was like, what? And then, like a second later, it hits you that it's Marsh. I jumped out of my chair and did a happy dance. Finally, we won something. Everything was just going down the shitter. We'd try and then fail. We'd try to get Elend, and then he was like, I don't want to be with you. Try with the army, and then Yedin was like, I'm gonna be stupid. Try with those prisoners in those carts, and Kelsier was like, I'm gonna save them, and then he just gets killed. And then Vin is like, I'm gonna get in that room and kill the Lord Ruler, and then she can't. And then she's like, I'm gonna escape from this cell and kill the Lord Ruler with the 11th medal, and then she can't. And then Marsh is there, and he can. He spent his whole life learning as much as he can about obligators so he could avenge his family, or Mare, or just, you know, the world in general. Can we talk about Mare for a second? As soon as we learned about Marsh, he mentioned Mare. I was like, oh shit, this is like a Vampire Diaries situation we got going on here. Were they both in love with Mare? Poor guy. Poor guy has his eyes nailed out, but it was all worth it because Ding Dong, the Lord Ruler, is dead. It was kind of really like the Voldemort death. He didn't like turn into confetti, but he kind of disintegrated into ashes. That part was awesome. My theory that entire time was that the Lord Ruler had learned to use future me and allomancy. And Vin walked into that little room the Lord Ruler was in, and he was old. And I was like, he's using it. He's using it right now. In the journal entries, he seemed to have such an interest in the Terracemen. So it would make sense that he learned how to do it when he got all those powers from that lake. What is this lake now? Is the lake the Well of Ascension? Did the Well of Ascension release allomancy into the world? That was my theory. Whatever happened to the Lord Ruler gave him allomancy, and then he had children, and then those children became the noble people, and that's why he always lets them slide when they mess things up or when they fight and stuff. Because they're his descendants, his direct descendants. That was my theory. What are we to believe that he never took a wife in 1,000 years, never had sex in 1,000 years? You know, that's, I don't know. Hell no. Just crazy there was. I can't believe Ellen is king now. Is Vin going to be queen? That'd be really cool. I thought for a second that Marsh would actually even maybe take up the kingdom, but I guess you can't have someone with nails through their eyes as your king. Vin is gonna become the hero of ages. Will she ascend? So if you couldn't be a Mistborn, what would you want to be? I like the idea of being a soother. Soother rioter thing was super interesting to learn about. It was really eye-opening when Vin was training solely with Breeze. I really have to understand what exactly a soother does. Because before that, you didn't understand that they could pull individual emotions and damper them. It's really interesting power. At first, the whole idea of even eating metal kind of freaked me out. At one point when you just swallowed an earring, like, isn't that pointy? Isn't that gonna like poke your insides? Atrium? Whoa. Atrium is the one that lets you see the future. Burrington reminded me a lot of being a vampire. That Kliss bitch. Kliss is that gossip, if you don't remember. What kind of name is Kliss anyway? It's like Kiss with an L. She's all like threatening Vin. But I guess I'm happy that we had Kliss, because Kliss told us about the whole plan to kill Ellen, and then we wouldn't have been able to save Ellen's life. For a lot of the story, I was listening to Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack because it goes wonderfully to the whole like thieving section. Basically, they are pirates, except not on the water. And then for the other calmer, non-actiony sections, I will listen to the Social Network soundtrack. Now, what do we think these other elements are gonna do? Gold is weird. There has to be more to it than just seeing your past self. Even the 11th metal, like there has to be more to it than just seeing these other shades of someone, right? Like, what about silver? We don't have silver. Wouldn't the opposite of gold be silver? I don't know, I'm not like any sort of chemist, but silver and gold usually go together like in jewelry, so. Ooh, the mist wraths. I don't really have much to say except they're weird, scary things. They reminded me of Grievers the first time we saw it. It was this big rolling blob. The whole idea of those cantors, what are they called? The adult mist wraths. The body snatchers. I don't understand what they do with the gold. What kind of creature are they? They just steal bodies all the time and they live like people? I don't know. I don't understand how you could strike a contract with one. Like their whole aura is confusing to me. They snatch bodies. They have a contract for atrium. Do they eat the atrium too? There's something with the atrium, like it does something for other things, because it seems that the Lord Ruler wasn't keeping his atrium, he was using it for something specific, and these creatures, they want atrium. What are they doing with it? There's something different. They don't just use it as money, and I think that's going to be explored. Obviously has to be explored in the next 2 books. I'm so excited to read the next book. Please don't spoil me if you've already finished and read and stuff. Like, I'm gonna read the books. I'm excited. Please share your thoughts on the first book and your theories if you haven't read the other books, or your theories before you read the other books, you know. My favorite parts of this book, there's so many favorite parts. Oh my god, that part when Kelsier and Vin turned themselves into roadrunners and had like 1,000,000 pewter balls and just kept running for 16 hours straight, and Vin was like, what else is there? Running his life. I was so scared. My favorite swoony parts were when Ellen gave her that handkerchief and he was like, I didn't mean for that to wipe her nose. Like, That's a sign, girl. I'm courting you. I was like, Ellen. And I loved Kelsier's training in the beginning. I loved Kelsier's whole final stand. It was badass. That fight with the Inquisitor, man. That whole section when the Inquisitor threw that prison cage at him and he maneuvered himself into it and held himself inside it so he didn't crash against any of the sides the whole time, or like pushing and pulling. I love the part when she killed Shan. I was hoping maybe Ellen would snap, that he would be Mistborn. What were your favorite parts? Who are your favorite characters? I'm definitely going Breeze, Kelsier, Vin, Ellen on this one. Please share your thoughts, your feels. Did you predict the end at all? I'm Christine. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you next time.